testing out the waters. You just kind of think you want to write, but you're just not sure where you're going with it yet. Okay. Some of you, how about the ones who are sort of, you're here, but,
Maybe you should tell the viewing audience who you are.
or are we on tape there?
You're on tape.
Either. Kathi Macias. I'm an author of about 35 books with several more in the works, and a speaker, and that's who I am. And I'm a child of God and glad for that. Amen. That's the best part.
And a couple of your books, the titles?
Okay, a couple of my books. Current series, the Extreme Devotion series, a 4-book fiction series from New Hope Publishers, their very first ever venture into fiction. The line is called Fiction with a Mission. The most recent book, People of the Book, set in Saudi Arabia, released early this month. And we just heard that it was the readers, one of the 3 top picks by readers for family fiction this month. And next month will be featured on the cover of Christian Fiction Online magazine. So I am excited. Thank you for asking. Okay. So we have a couple of really just starting out beginners, which is fantastic, because I got to tell you, we all had to start somewhere, and the scriptures say don't despise small beginnings, right? And you know the old saying, bloom where you're planted, maybe God will move you to a bigger pot, so you just never know. How about, okay, some of you are maybe just not quite at that absolute beginning stage, but you're just starting to venture out, and you maybe even published a thing or two, or won a contest or something. How many of you are like, would classify yourselves there? Okay. How about anybody who writes and you know everything about writing that could possibly ever be done? Oh, I do. Okay, 1. That's wonderful. There's one in every class. Okay. So we have a little bit of a wide spectrum. Is anybody as old as dirt like me, and you have been in this industry for at least 30 years? Okay, good. Then let me tell you how much has changed in 30 years. I never wanted to be anything except a writer. I mean, it just never occurred to me to be anything else. I loved words. From the time I was this high, I loved words. I was always learning new ways to string them together, and I learned how words can affect people and change people, and it can bring healing, it can bring pain. The words are powerful. Anybody that tells you words don't hurt you, that's not true. They're really powerful. We have a great responsibility when God calls us to be communicators. When I hit my teens, I started doing the journalism thing, even in junior high and high school, you know, on the school newspaper and all that sort of thing. Entering writing contests with my flowery sonnets and all this sort of thing that were probably really pretty corny, but they won some awards, so I was pretty encouraged. And then life happened, you know, my then boyfriend and I, we've known each other since we were 6. We got married at 18 when we knew absolutely everything. And life just came along and put my writing dream on hold for a long time. You know, you got kids and you're doing all those things. So I want to preface that by saying, if you're at a place where you're looking at me and going, how does she write all those books? How does she do all that? Well, that is what I do now. I don't do that in addition to a job. I don't do that in addition to changing diapers. I mean, I just write. I'm a writer and a speaker all the time. So give yourself a lot of grace there in what season you're in, okay? That's really important. I didn't do this when I was 19 and had my first baby. Okay. Having said that, I eventually moved to the place where I became a Christian at the ripe old age of 26. I was not raised in a Christian home. I thought I was a Christian because I was born in America and I believed in God, so surely I was, you know. So when I was 26, I said, okay, God, I'm going to make you a deal. I'm sure he was thrilled. And here it is. I'll do anything you want me to do. Oh, except, of course, public speaking. Because I don't do public speaking. And God chuckled. You know, God always has such a bigger plan for us, right?
Yeah.
Well, I figured I was just going to, at that point, just write books for God. I'd always wanted to write. Now, I was a Christian. Very obviously, I'd gotten my marching orders. I was going to start writing books for God. 26 years old, had a handle on life. I was good to go. And that was during the Jesus movement when everybody was sweeping in. There were baptisms at the beach. And yeah, late 60s, early 70s. It was a great time. You know, we had praisins at the park and all this fun stuff. Afterglows on Sunday night. Some of you remember that, Chuck. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And everybody was writing their testimony books, right? You walked into a bookstore, they were full of testimony books, and you didn't have to be famous then to write them. They were just really amazing. They were popping up all over. Everybody was getting delivered out of, cults and all kinds of drugs and whatever. And so I thought, well, that must be what I'm supposed to write, but it just didn't occur to me that my life was really very boring. Sure, I didn't become a Christian until I was 26, and I thought it was remarkable what God did, and it was, but nobody wanted to read about it, including publishers, so it was going nowhere. And the only option in those days to a traditional publisher was what they called vanity press, and it was terrible. There was a reason they called it vanity press. It was just so you could say, I've got a book with my name on it. It looked like it got run off in the garage. It read like it was written by somebody who they were just awful. They were terrible. And so self-publishing got a really bad name during those days. Now, some years later, as I began to learn that maybe I needed to start a little smaller, start writing an article here and there, or just little things, I began to get published, and I had time to go back to school, and I actually landed a job at a newspaper. I was doing a weekly column. They paid me $5 a week. Wow! I spent $10 a week going out, for gas and everything, running around to write the story. But it was so much fun to get paid for writing something. And then I was a string reporter, meaning I wasn't on staff, but if something needed to be reported in the area and none of their real reporters were available, they called me. And I made a few bucks here and there, but that really wasn't what it was about. It was about getting published. But my heart was still to do Christian writing. And I kept waiting and waiting, wondering what was going on. And I remember laying on my face before God, feeling so frustrated and saying, why can't I get anywhere with a book? I want to write books for you, God. And it was one of those times where, and I'm not given to hearing voices, but it was one of those things I knew God was speaking to my heart. He said, you'll be ready to write books for me when you're ready to write books without your name on them. I thought, what in the world does that mean? But I just put it on hold, and because there was so much maturing and growing up that needed to be done in my life, I guarantee you. So it was about 10 years later, and I got a job at an entry-level position, minimum wage, no benefits, part-time, and I was thrilled. It was at a publishing house. And it was just like editorial assistant to the assistant, whatever, But it was exciting. I was going to get to work with words, and they were actually going to pay me something for it. So I thought, this is fantastic. So I got to know some of the people at the publishing house, and some of them asked about the type of writing I really like to do, because they knew that most people that come to work at places like that really like to write. So I showed a few things to a few people, and then one day, out of the clear blue, this was a large publishing house, the publisher himself came walking down the hall to my little cubicle, which was about the size of this table, and somehow he managed to get another chair into it, and he sat down next to me, and I thought he was going to fire me. He was like, I'm done, And he looked at me and he said, I understand that you know what to do with words. And I said, really? He said, how would you like a freelance job? I guess that would be good. And he said, well, here's what you'd be doing. He says, we've got this well-known evangelist who we want him to publish his book, but he can't write. And we think you can. So we want you to get together with him and write his book for him. You'd be ghostwriting. So you'll be writing the book, but it won't have your name on it. Oh. I almost fell out of my chair, right? It's like, oh, Lord, you are incredible. Why I went through life not understanding what a ghostwriter was, who knows? But I just never heard the term. It didn't connect with me, and all of a sudden I thought, this is my green light. So for a long time, I made a living as a ghostwriter. I ended up going full-time freelance, just writing for other people. And I've actually authored about 100 other books besides my 35 I've written on my own for other people. You've probably read me and not known it because my name wasn't on the book. My name was on the paycheck, though. I liked it. I like that. And I had people say to me, you know what, that's just really not honest. That's really not right. You shouldn't do that. Well, over the years, I've had the opportunity to be in various areas of ministry. And what I have learned is it's a team effort. We work on these things together. If you're an associate pastor, do you have to get noticed for everything you do, or do you work because you serve with the senior pastor and the others on the staff? We're a team. And that's the same way I felt about what I was doing. I had no problem with doing it. And so it worked out really well. But while I was doing that, there came a point where God just released me to begin publishing my own books. So I did that, and for several years I was just zipping right along, and publishing, I had like 16, 17 books of my own under my belt, and then I hit a brick wall. Nothing was happening. Zero, zip. I mean, I was sending out, I knew they were good proposals. I had a great agent, but he finally came to me and said, you know what, we just can't sell anything. They're just sending them back. I don't know what to tell you. And it was pretty frustrating, because one of my books had been a bestseller. And I thought, how does that happen? And now I can't sell anything.
What book was that?
A Moment a Day, it was a woman's devotional, and that was in 1988, I believe. And of course, it was a bestseller because, you remember that
I
book?
have it.
You have it?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
A moment.
A Moment a Day, a devotional. My name, I was writing under Kathy Mills then. And I wrote with Mary Beckwith. Well, her name was Mary Boucher. No, it's Mary Boucher now, it's Mary Beckwith then. So if you look for it, that's where it is. It didn't hurt that Dr. Dobson bought like 50,000 copies and advertised it on his radio, so that was fantastic. But all of this was going on, and now all of a sudden I couldn't publish. So I went to the ICRS convention, the International Christian Retailer Services, only it was still called CBA then, the Christian Bookseller. The difference was, when it was Christian booksellers, we mostly concentrated on books. Now it's a lot of what they call the holy hardware stuff. You know, you go and trinkets everywhere, and every now and then you find a book in the middle of it. But so I went to the convention, and there was an editor that I greatly respected and had worked with at one time, and he sat me down and he talked to me the way I needed to be talked to, and he told me things I needed to hear. Don't you love people like that? Really, they love you enough to sit. They're not like your mom to say everything you do is wonderful. He sat me down and said, here's the problem. You have not kept up with the changes in the industry. The publishing world is changing. You're still stuck in the 80s and 90s, and everything has changed. And I didn't want to hear that, because it was like saying you're getting old and you better wake up and smell the coffee, right? Because things have changed. But it was true, and I needed to hear that. And what he said to me was this: here's going to be your options at this point. If you want to continue to traditionally publish, then here's what you've got to do. Nobody in the business doubts that you can write. We know you. Your name is established. You're a great writer. You can write fiction, you can write nonfiction, you can write for other people. What we want to know is, can you sell? Yes, I had that one bestseller, but that was because Dr. Dobson fell in love with the book. He didn't buy my other ones, okay? I did nothing to help sell my books, because in those days you didn't do that. Christian authors did not have agents. We didn't have publicists. We didn't worry about building platforms. We did no marketing, no publicity, because you know, you're promoting yourself. Christians don't do that, right? I mean, that's what was drilled into our heads. And all of a sudden, there was this big shift and everything changed, and I didn't change. I stayed back there thinking, I don't do those things. I don't do public speaking. I don't do any of this stuff. And so there I was. And that's why I was not getting contracts. And so he gave me the best advice I ever got. He said, forget sending out proposals for a couple of years, go home and build a platform. You find out what's up with the internet. And I'm like, oh, please, I don't even want to turn it on. You know, it was a tough thing for me to learn at that age. I mean, I was a grandma several times over by then. But it was like, okay, I understand that you don't like to do it, but do you want to keep publishing? Then here's what you need to do. And he said, the other option, you're going to have to start self-publishing, because nobody's going to give you a contract until you establish yourself on the internet and on a speaking tour anywhere you can. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. I don't do public speaking. He said, well, you explain that to God, because that's what, you know, if you're going to continue writing for him and writing his books and writing the stories and getting them out there, here's what you got to do to make it happen. So being the typical type A, firstborn, overachiever personality that I am, and we have another one sitting right here. I mean, is that who we are or what? You know, we're the kind of people that, you know, you get 99 on a test and you look at the one you missed and you cry. You know, it's like, how could I have missed that one? And beat yourself up. I mean, nobody's harder on us than we are. Okay? But so I went home and I thought, okay, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly, let's do this thing. And I am people come to me now and they go, how can I build my platform online? How can I get to where everybody goes online and knows who I am? Okay, I gave up sleeping. Pretty much.
It's overrated anyway.
Who needs it? You know, I mean, it's just a waste of time.
8 hours.
I am up at dark o'clock, whatever that amounts to, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever. When it's quiet, when I can have some alone time with the Lord, and then I attack that computer. Man, we go round and round.